This is Brad Zinker, Brad Zinker Knives. You are listening to the Bladeology podcast.
All right. We're going to jump into this like we do every week. Welcome to another episode of the Bladeology podcast. We are on this week with episode 46. We are on with our original host lineup, and we are on with a guest. This is the vocal representation of Jeremiah Burbank from PVK Vegas.
Nick Chuperin of NCC Knives.
Hamish Malaise of Isham Blade Works.
And Chuck Gedraitis of Gedraitis Knives.
Nice. All right. Chuck, you were our first guest of the podcast ever, and now
That's right, he was.
You are back on as a guest again. You've come on in the past as a co-host. We're on for your maker update, man. It's 2020. We've all survived this far. Tell us, what are you up to? What's going on? I know you've got some new models since we last spoke that have been popping off, and yeah, what's good, man? What's going on?
The word of the day is Switchblade or automatic. I have been building lots and lots of automatics, and all different types: button release, traditional latch release, the New England style latch release, scale release, bolster release, you name it. Lots of Switchblades.
Bam. All right, so the market has been on fire for the automatics, which is awesome. Best news of the day. And Switchblade is a great word. It's my favorite word. So you've been building like crazy, and all different mechanisms, right? I mean, that's the key thing here. Not just one mechanism, but a variety of mechanisms.
Absolutely. It depends on the style or the design of the knife, because some you want to keep more of a clean design and you don't want to have anything visible. So you build it as a scale release or a bolster release, and others, lend themselves to this traditional New England style that we've talked about in the past, talked about with other makers. I mentioned what I've been building to a friend of mine, and basically I am the only guy that I know of carrying on the New England style of custom Switchblade. That's a rocker bar release, Damascus blade, Damascus bolsters, and natural handle materials. I don't know of anybody else that's doing it. So it's kind of big shoes to fill.
So that's considered a New England style.
Correct.
The rocker bar especially, yeah.
The rocker bar, yes.
Right. Yeah. There's the dress of the knife, and then there's the mechanism. Right. That's the combination.
Correct. Yeah. Started with Bill McHenry and Jason Williams, and now I'm carrying that on.
It's a very specific style, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't think anybody else is currently doing that, especially not from that school or mimicking the style. So I think that you're not only carrying something on that nobody else is doing, but you're part of the movement itself.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, and I'm actually really enjoying it because it's been really challenging. Knock on wood, I haven't screwed up one yet. In the past, I used to have to remake blades or remake other parts, and it's been going pretty smoothly thus far.
Well, you've been doing it for a couple of days now, right? I mean, you're not a new hand at this by any means.
No, and I've definitely started to my time now in my older years. When I first started building them, I'd be in a hurry to move on to the next one, and that's when you make mistakes. So I take my time now.
Nice. I mean, we go over that with other makers too, which is just, you have to, no matter what you're doing, you have to enjoy the process of the build and the finite details, and really, I mean, I would imagine you just got to fall in love with every piece in order to finish it and then hate it enough to sell it.
Yeah.
Or else you just keep every damn one.
I have one that I'm working on. No, because then you want to move on to the next one. I have one I'm working on now that's kind of, it's a latch release. It's Sicilian inspired. The blade is 7/16 of an inch wide at the widest, and it tapers down to a point like a dagger blade. Front and rear Damascus bolsters and fossil walrus ivory scales. And I'm going to carve the rear bolster and part of the scale to look like a nautilus shell.
Okay.
So carving these curved flutes all the way around.
Oh, that's neat. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. And the blade tapers.
I saw
All
that,
right,
yeah.
I'm intrigued. All right.
Some of that, like a whip, a work in progress. On IG.
Yeah, I posted some pictures on Instagram of a drawing and then the paper template.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then
All
it
right.
in steel.
It has like a rounded
Okay.
back pommel, kind of.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Right, Sicilian. Okay. Yeah, it was just took me a second there, but right. The Sicilian and the pommel, which is exactly that style. Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
That's badass.
That's what inspired it. So
Speaking of carving, so we talked. I talked to Richard about this, and I've talked to you about this too, about the carving of the backspacers, right? Doing file work and very specific file work, and so in a couple of your builds in the past year, you've been doing sort of a less traditional, but you have also been doing traditional file work, but you've been doing this sort of free form, I want to call it, file work, where it starts with a pattern at the bottom, and then by the time you work your way up to where the backspacer meets the tang of the blade, it's a different pattern. Tell us a little bit about that. You're playing with the visuals on that.
sometimes when I start the knife, I have an idea of what I want the file work to look like. Sometimes I don't want it to be too busy. Other times it just flows as I'm doing it. So the freeform stuff, I'll start and just see where it takes me. And then other times I will have a specific pattern. Either I draw it out or in my head, and I'll try to keep it uniform. I tend to always start on the backspacer in the center and work my way out, so that way it stays consistent going in both directions. But if I start at one end, you never know which way it's going to go, because I'll get bored of the way it's looking, or I just won't like how it's flowing, and it'll just kind of put patterns together that normally wouldn't go together. So it's kind of a mismatch of different patterns. The liners are another story where I try to keep the liners symmetrical pretty much all the way around. And sometimes I have file work on the liners frame the file work that's on the backspacer. So cutouts line up with other cutouts or inlays in the backspacer, and frame the spacer in the back of the knife. So instead of two different patterns on the liners and patterns on the backspacer, making the whole knife too busy, I usually have a plan.
I gotcha. All right. I'm digging the various file work. I think it's a cool. Some of the more traditional stuff is a cool nod, right, to that New England style, and definitely some of the freeform stuff is sort of taking that style and like force evolving it into a more modern take on it. I think it works a lot well with the build, and I think it also gets people into file work, because I think a lot of people, they're not sure how they feel about it, but the freeform stuff, it seems like people have been responding well to it.
They have been. And it is also a whole new group of collectors who have never been exposed to file work. It kind of died off when the art knife movement died off and tactical folders took over. and nobody did file work. You didn't have to. But I feel with these New England style automatics, you kind of have to do it because it's just part of the style of knife.
Right. Yeah, it's expected, sort of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I wanted to bridge from the file work to a model that has, I think it's a very recognizable model for you, and I think has brought a lot of attention to the work you're doing, which is the Swiss Army Switchblade, because that seems to have been, it's like basically on fire. I'm not sure anybody listening to this would not have seen it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go look it up.
It's pretty common by now. Yeah.
I feel like it people have got to be on the level. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the development of that, and how that's going.
It's going really well. I still have people constantly messaging me, asking when they're available. And unfortunately, they are first come, first serve. And whenever I put one up, first person to message me is usually the one who takes it. I have been experimenting with some new blade shapes. So instead of your traditional Swiss Army, which is kind of a modified Warncliffe, it's not really a spear point. I've been playing around with, I have a modified Warncliffe that actually fits in the same handle. I guess you'd call it either a Barlow style blade or a dagger style, depending on how I grind it, and a Lanny's clip, so which is more of a Bowie style blade. And I think experimenting with more blade shapes will appeal to more people than just the standard Swiss Army style blade shape. So, and it's been a little bit of a challenge to get it to everything to fit.
Really digging the Lanny's clip point.
Yeah, that was actually when I finished it. So I put stainless bolsters on it and jig bone scales, and it looked like the old Presto or Charade push button automatics.
Very old school, yeah.
Very old school looking. So, and I've even been playing around with the idea of trying to do a Presto style. I found some videos on YouTube on actually how the mechanism works, and I may play around and see if I can recreate that with some more modern materials.
Switch up with the blade styles, right? I agree with Elijah on that. That clip it's pretty slick. I'm digging that. It's a very it's a reminiscent blade shape, and it works well with that handle and with the auto mech. I think that's
yeah. At first I was like, oh, is that a new model? But then I was like, oh no, it's just a different flavor. And it looks great.
Well, it makes it a little more versatile.
The Charade Presto that you're talking about. So what era do you think that's from? Are we talking about like the 50s?
Some of those are even earlier. Some of those are around like the 20s.
Oh shoot! Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
The Presto ones had the Presto ones had the button was in the center of the bolster where the pivot should be. And basically you're pushing on the button to release the blade. And then eventually Charade moved the button a little bit further back and they added the safety. But the early Presto ones are pretty neat. So they actually had a hollow pivot. And it was peened. So it was a piece of tubing that they used as the pivot that they peened on both ends. And that's how the mechanism is able to be installed in the center where the pivot is.
So we talked about this previously, and it was similar to the old GT knives, the Greg and Todd automatics.
Yes.
Right. Which I guess, so there used to be GT knives back in the day, which was literally just G and T, which stood for Greg and Todd. And they were part of a early aluminum CNC, more production style automatic wave of guys in the early 2000s, late 90s ish. They were at it for a while, but the knife really caught on, and it was just it was brutish, not in a bad way, but it was just very. It was a machined item. It had hard angles, but the nice thing about it, which was really cool, was it did not have an extra button to fire the blade. It was a coil-fired automatic that like Chuck is describing, the coil, the pivot, and the button were all in the same mech. So you push on the pivot, and then that would fire the blade out. People might have seen this a little more recently in the last 2 to 3 years. Mantis purchased the brand because Greg and Todd had stopped making these knives a very long time ago, probably 2010-ish maybe they stopped. But Mantis purchased a few years ago and tried to sort of bring it back, and they recreated the knives for a short time. I don't believe they're doing it any longer. I don't think the knives saw the success that they thought it would. They probably, older collectors probably purchased them, and it's Mantis. It was just poor marketing and execution on everybody's front. I think I can get away with saying that. But anyway, I digress. It was the pivot and the coil spring were all the same, just like in the Schrade Presto.
Well, the Schrade Presto is leaf spring.
Okay, right.
The mechanism, other than that, is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Same idea.
Weird how that works. And the one that you were building, unlike the regular Switch Army as a bolster. Did you
Correct.
keep the lanyard hole? I forget. Did you keep the little lanyard at the bottom, or did you shave that off? You did? Okay.
No, I kept it.
I think that's an excellent touch. That definitely reminded me of the older Colonial Knife Works autos from back in the day as well. Some of those had like lanyard catches and the bail loops, which were pretty neat.
Yeah, the orange ones.
Yeah, the old the Paratrooper X or something with the those resin handles.
Paratrooper.
Those are so custom. I've probably got one around here somewhere. They were wow, man. Resin is a stretch, but resin is a plastic.
Yeah.
It was they
Hollow
were like
plastic, no doubt.
the early ones were like this thermoplast probably, but they were indeed coil fired push button autos with safeties, and they either had lanyard loops or these giant, like hugely oversized bales on the bottom that you could like cover the whole knife in, like they were giant. Because apparently they were for paratroopers. That's what a paratrooper wanted. Some paratrooper at some point in history must have carried one for them to really have that claim to fame. I'll see if I can't dig one up. I'll do a video on it. But those were made in Rhode Island pretty much until, I don't know, the last, I think 5 or 10 years they stopped making them.
Yeah, Imperial.
Those are wild. Let's dig those up.
My knowledge.
Yeah, that's just
I
like
do not know these
archaic Switchblade stuff, really.
They also had a hook on them.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my God, they
had the hook for cutting
See
the
that
paracord.
picture? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it the picture that you
I
showed in the
remember.
book
Yeah.
for doing other stuff with the hook?
Oh no, though that was
tires.
probably. That was from the Latama book I was reading. The Latama book was specifically mentioned that small hook was for slicing the sidewall of tires, which I thought was
it's like,
that's
okay.
particularly great.
The paratrooper knife I'm used to, it's usually a gravity knife.
Yes, so it's the naming is similar. The Colonial one that they call a paratrooper is like supposedly it's an American Army issued paratrooper knife. But the paratrooper knife that people call the paratrooper is a gravity OTF, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, where it has the lever on the side.
Yeah, the German
falls out.
paratrooper.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a picture of what you guys are talking about?
If you look up CKC Paratrooper, it'll probably come up. Colonial Knife Company. I
Got it.
would
CKC.
seriously doubt that there's any on Instagram. Maybe there might be
No,
some
just Google
super
it.
hardcore.
CKC paratrooper knife.
Yeah, there might be some super hardcore old school pocket dumps out there with some.
And now, is the hook
Colonials in
also
them?
automatic?
Some of them were. Yep, and the hook is probably made from Bud Light cans that were sharpened. Because I remember some of the later model ones were like, they were pretty skeptical. But yeah. But yeah, no, the hook was, so they were double-ended autos, which actually, we were just talking to Brad Zinker about this, but double-ended, so there was a coil-fired blade and a coil-fired, like, in air quotes, rescue hook on the other end. Yeah, I mean, like, later on, they were, it was steel of some kind. Very custom. But part of that Rhode Island or late model New England manufacturing, the tail end of, decades of manufacturing. I'm sure that they've gone out of business or sold out to China at this point. I can't imagine they're still in business. In any case, let's bring that back around to Chuck and the mechanisms you were talking about earlier. So we talk a lot about switchblades, which I try to talk as much as I can about switchblades. But so the mechanism thing is not necessarily only the choice of mechanisms has a lot to do with how you want the knife to operate, but also how you want the knife to look. And follow me down this train of thought. A coil-fired auto is a mechanism that is tied to a cosmetic look. But the way you were describing it, the latch release, the scale release, these can all be used to accentuate different cosmetic attributes.
Correct. Absolutely. Like, say, for example, if you have an automatic that is in the shape of a dagger, well, a latch release, you're going to have the latch in the center of the knife, parallel with the knife, and it's going to flow with that overall design. Whereas if you took the same design and put a button release in it, you're going to have this button that's most of the time offset to the side, and it's going to look out of place. So it's all about aesthetics based on the knife design.
Right. So, and what were you saying that the latest sort of Sicilian-esque model uses?
So the Sicilian-esque model I'm working on is a latch release.
It is a latch release. Okay.
It's going to be real long and thin. The blade's probably going to get ground on a 1.5-inch wheel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Just because it's so narrow that a larger diameter wheel will bring the grind lines up too high. So I've done it once before. Fingers crossed when I get to that point.
There you go. Right. It's all going to come together, man. It's all going to come together. So no orders for the Swiss Army. It's a first come first serve thing, which I think is great. It keeps the mystery alive and it keeps the want
Instagram
real in so many. Yeah, it really does. I mean, who knows when you're going to get it or when it's going to be available. You got
to be on the lookout, folks.
It's knife collecting. If you could just
That's right.
Yeah, if you could just go to the store and buy this shit, it's like, look, man, you have to commit to it, okay?
Keep the demand high, and I trickle them out every so often,
No, it's important. Like it's important for people to have something slightly out of reach that's hard to get. I honestly believe that. I mean, that's what the industry is. The industry is a series of grail knives that you're continuously finding and stumbling upon and being like, I want that so bad and I just can't have it.
Well, I'm having fun with them too, because even though it's essentially the same model, I'm using a variety of hand materials from, G10 and micarta. I've done one in desert ironwood. As long as the material is structurally strong enough, then I'm more than happy to try to use it. And there's still so much else out there I haven't used yet. I haven't done one in Damascus yet. A lot of the custom micarta that Greg Hansen is making. Would make some killer Swiss Army Switchblades. And I have one I started today that's going to have pearl scales. But I didn't think the pearl was structurally strong enough. So I am setting the pearl in 416 stainless, which will essentially be the scales, and have the pocket for the mechanism underneath, so there won't be any force on the pearl at all. It'll just basically be there for show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You did an auction, Swiss Army, but no, was that Ivory micarta? What was that one? Or was that Westinghouse? That was Westinghouse.
I did one in Westinghouse.
That was it.
I did one in Tiffany Blue G10.
Okay.
And I made a sterling silver toothpick to go with it.
Right.
And then I recently did one in purple marbled carbon fiber with a Damascus toothpick.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't realize it was
okay, I saw that
purple.
on the gram. That's pretty neat.
But it was marble.
I did see that just recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some of that fat carbon, so it's got just hints of purple here and there in it.
Hues of purple.
Oh, it's fat. Oh, okay. It's fat carbon marble.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, well,
okay.
next goal is make some
Yeah,
Damascus
making
tweezers.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
That should be interesting.
That's probably doable,
Yeah.
right?
I thought about it. Or keep the stainless tweezers and take it apart and just make the holder out of Damascus.
Oh, instead of the plastic part, just make that Damascus.
Correct. Yeah, that way you still have the stainless tweezers.
Nah,
That's
Damascus
a great.
is
You
cool.
know, that's an excellent use of Damascus. Just the record, just a sprinkling of it. That's nice. You know, I'm sure that somebody will request a whole Damascus scale at some point, but.
Well, I have one of those that I'm working on too.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay. Keep an eye out there for the full dress model.
Yeah, black Damascus in a hyperdrive pattern
Whoa.
for scales.
There you go.
I'll have to make another Damascus toothpick and maybe those Damascus tweezers.
And you
shall see.
you sent me a picture of one, but you haven't posted it on the gram yet that you're working on the unless that's top secret.
No,
Secret sauce.
that one's it's got a reptilian Damascus blade, carbon fiber scales, black screws, and blacked out G.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. It looks real good. It's like a stealth version with a little bit of Damascus in there. Like that's badass.
Keep it subtle.
I mean, yeah, there you go. You know, we all the NCCA shows were canceled on us. Unfortunately. I mean, along with all the other knife shows, but
Yeah,
the
along with all the
NCCA
shows.
ones
NCCA.
yeah.
Was that some of that
Yeah.
North England stuff?
Yeah, that's that North Englandshire show.
He says this as if he went to them in the past.
You know, that's that. You know, the Mystic
What's
show.
that show like anyway? Is it pretty cool?
The Marlborough show.
Yeah, what is that
I mean,
one too?
I like 'em.
There's so many of those
That's-
obscure.
That's the NCCA
there.
show is the Marlborough show. Which I've been to a few times actually. It's a very interesting mix. I mean, it's a club show. It's a small club show, so it's kind of what you expect. But then all of a sudden, there's like actual knife makers there, and you're like, wait, what's going on? Like Paul Farina's there, and then Chuck's there, and then there's also people just like wandering around with like
Of course, Paul's there. Yeah.
like bagged, like busted up fixed plates, like trying to trade them, and you're like, I don't know, I have no idea what's going on. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
Seems accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to find.
Exactly.
There's a gentleman there who collects antique automatics, French automatics from the 1800s. And he's got some really cool stuff. He doesn't sell it, but he comes and displays,
Oh, okay.
you know, stuff that are French cross guards and stag scales and things you'd never see anywhere else in his private little collection.
Chuck, I don't know if you're familiar, but
that's
Kind of
stuff.
neat.
yeah, Bob Neal made these automatics back in the day that were you would press on the blade and then it would fire the other blade out. You know anything about that?
Like a pen release.
Yeah, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know, some
Hubertus
like
makes
ancient
one.
Like he would do it in like
Ron
these small
Newton's done it.
little slip joint style knives. I've never seen one in person except for his. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I've played with the Hubertus ones.
Yeah,
And
that's the
I
same
did
thing.
some repair work on a Ron Newton one, and yeah, it's a little Warncliffe pen-shaped blade, and that releases the larger blade. So I think I know how it works. I could probably build one, but I don't know if I want to.
It's like a weird. It's like an
Like a challenge.
internal latch.
Yeah, it's like the leaf spring is the trigger. Almost. Is the sear. I don't know. It's confusing.
I think that there's a pin that goes across between the two blades, and so when you push down on the small blade, it pushes down on the pin, which lifts the back bar for the larger blade, and that's what releases it.
Oh. Okay, I can kind of visualize that. I remember messing with those horrible Hubertus knives because we used to sell a lot of those, and then I'd have to hand fit all the springs and then try to tune those pen blades. Like, you would just sit it on the desk and look at it and like count to 4, and then the blade would just fire on its own without you even touching it. It's the most frustrating goddamn thing. Like, just like a little timer, and then you'd have to like bend the pen blade a little bit until it would just not accidentally fire itself. Ugh. Terrible flashbacks. I did not know that Bob Neal made those though. That's pretty cool.
He only made a couple, and yeah, he still like has them. Like, yeah, I don't know why.
Oh, he didn't even sell them.
I think he sold like 1 or 2, and then he has like one of them.
I would imagine that's one of those things where he might have figured out how to do it and realized that what he needed to get out of the knife for it to be worth it was just like, nah, just keep it.
He was like
I'll
straight up
just
like, I'm
keep
not
it."
making this again. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah, right.
It's too much work.
Well, if you're not trained in the dark arts, it's a lot of research and development for something that, if you're not going to do regularly, it does not become probably worth it in the long run, I would imagine. And so Chuck, you've also been you've been sprinkling some other stuff in there though. You've been like today you posted a fixed blade, which kind of looks a little bit like a pelican. Is that sort of the inspiration for that?
It's a Point Man,
Point Man.
which I
Okay.
make a folder called the Point Man. It looks like a snub nose or a puffin. They're kind of similar. And I had a customer who had sent me some crosscut vintage micarta and said, "Hey, can you make me one of those?" And so I said, "A little something different, breaks up the monotony." And it seems to have gotten a lot of likes on Instagram. But I've got all kinds of stuff in the works. I actually drew up a out the front
Uh-oh.
that when I actually have some time, I'm going to build.
I'm going to assume it's a single action.
Single action, and it's not going to be a button or a latch. It's going to be a scale release out the front.
Oh, okay. That's intriguing. A scale, yeah, that's okay. Fuck it. That's cool. I guess I'm trying to think, yeah. And then to reload it, you would just
I'm assuming it's pin
lanyard
driven.
pull it?
No, it's going to have a arm, kind of like a Microtech does,
Oh,
or the early Butch Vallotton Vipers, where it'll have a retracting arm to reload it.
okay. Yeah. Like a reload bar.
Charging handle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's Okay, I did not see that coming. So okay, great. That's awesome. That's something to look forward to.
Well,
Yeah.
originally the blade that's in the Sicilian style auto was going to be for the out the front, but once I got the handle drawn up and the mechanism fitted in it, it looked out of place. The handle was so much bigger and wider than the blade was, so I have to design a new blade to fit in it that'll be more symmetrical and more proportionate to the size of the handle.
I gotcha.
So not so much longer, but just wider, more of a spear point blade instead of a real pointy dagger style.
Yeah, I guess right. So for symmetry reasons, those always look great with a nice double edge profile. Really.
Correct.
I mean, the Halo comes in a single edge, which was actually the original version, but for a single action, a double edge is it looks great.
Yeah, it maybe the blade will be a little inspired by a Jeff Harkins out the front.
Whoa. Okay.
That kind of design.
All right. I mean,
Is he still making
scale
knives or
release.
what?
Sure.
You only see him on your site, so
Well, funny how that works.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
Bear in mind
Jeff
what
is
exclusive
still
rights.
at it. Yeah, I have. Yeah, no, he does. He still
Keeps him
makes
at the,
knives.
he keeps him in the back room of it.
Yeah, the third VIP that nobody knows about is just Harkin's workshop and that's. No,
Like there's a reason there's
Jeff.
unfinished dry back hallway. Something behind that drywall.
No, he's up in Montana. He's doing his thing. But I think an inspired knife, yeah. So that's cool. I was just raking my mind. So obviously you've already had the answer to that, which is no one else has done that. A scale release single action OTF.
Correct. That's the other reason why I want to do it is because nobody else has done it. So
That's a good reason. All
you know,
right.
I appreciate the challenge.
Yeah, man. So you really putting that on the record there. So when are we gonna see that exactly? When and by when we're gonna see
Maybe
it?
sometime.
I mean, when am I gonna handle it? Is what I'm really saying.
What he's trying to say is when am I going to buy it?
Probably sometime after Christmas.
Okay, fair enough.
Sometime here.
Okay, realistic.
And
about
then
the
we'll
build
get
time.
Nick to make a. Then we'll get Nick to make a few of them.
Oh, great. Okay, super. That works.
Well, I have a standard one in the works with all the buttons that I have. Actually, not enough. I need more buttons. Jeremiah,
need more, Nick.
figure it out.
Wow. Okay, guy. Why is this falling on me, my dude? Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, a scale release. That's cool. That should be well documented and photographed. I'm sure it probably will be, because that is definitely something to look forward to. So, and that sort of brings up another thing. So you had said this, which is to sort of break up the monotony. You're still building whatever you want to build in whatever number in every style all the time. Like that's it from forever basically, right?
I'm the schizophrenic knife maker. Whenever I feel like building, that's what I'll build.
It's the way to do it.
Like I was just thinking the other day, I hadn't built any slip joints in a while. I haven't built any bally songs in a while. So I'm kind of thinking about it. So, once I get some of the more of these autos finished, I'll probably build some more bally songs.
I mean, yeah, man, I agree. I think that's kind of the way to do it because then you're always on the cutting edge because you're just cycling in and out what you're interested in, which is probably about the same equivalent interest that like the industry kind of fluctuates in that weird way where people are like really hot on something and then they want to see something else. And then you also keep people really interested in what you're making because the best way to do that is to stop making it. And then people are like, wait, no, that's what I wanted.
Keep the demand up. Yeah. Everyone's attention span's so short.
Yeah. So then you got to wait. Yeah, you got to wait and say, oh, maybe he'll maybe he'll make those again in 6 months. All right, I got to wait till then. Keep the demand up.
See? All right. That's ideal. I like that. That's good. Now you were working on some graphics. Whatever happened to that?
What do you mean by graphics? Like artwork?
Yeah, we were talking about doing like a little, like a sticker pack or something for the Swiss Army Switchblade.
So I have some Swiss Army Switchblade stickers.
There we go.
They're kind of old school in design. It's got a rose in the background, and it says Swiss Army Switchblade on it, and it's got a picture of the Swiss Army with a G on it, like the knives do.
Nice.
And so the most recent ones that I've been making comes with one of the stickers.
Oh man. Okay. So
I suppose I'll have to send you a couple.
I mean, I'll take a sticker. That's so that makes the sticker is even more rare, because then you can only get the sticker if you get one of the knives. Oh my gosh.
Correct.
Someone's gonna punch somebody at Blade Show for one of those stickers. Is basically what it comes down to. Because
well, I have other stickers that just have my last name.
Right.
And those go out with every knife. But yeah, these other stickers are a little bit more rare.
I gotcha. Okay. The super rare stickers. So I've been reading this book that Walt sent me, the history of Latama knives, which actually apparently just stands for Latin American Trading Company. And so I've been diving super deep into the history of Italians and the different mechanisms, and I've just gotten to chapter like 18, where they start talking about the patent for the square button in Italy, where it was originally applied for, and that sort of reminded me, Chuck, have you ever made a square button?
That's a good question. I have. I made the very first Switchblade was a square button.
Oh shoot!
It was a latch release with the latch hidden under the scale. The only thing that was showing was a square button that had a G carved into it.
Okay. Well, shoot. Just okay. Well, man, just covering everything there. Just okay. All right. Okay. And I know I've asked you if you've done a swing guard before, right?
Yes, I've done a couple of auto swing guards. I've done some manual swing guards. Going back to what you were just talking about Obama's, I've been doing some research on Italian style automatics.
Uh-oh.
And instead of building a pick guard or a
pick lock,
there are some of them that are bolster release. Instead of swiveling the bolster counterclockwise or to the right, you push down on one of the little interior guards, and then it lifts pick lock and it opens the knife.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of giving me some ideas as well. So basically, I'm going down the Switchblade rabbit hole.
Okay.
And building stuff with, my own twist and, new materials, titanium liners, and I'm just kind of everything automatic.
Yeah.
That's where it's headed.
I mean, I think I'm totally for that. I see some there's some hunter patterns in the book that are just gorgeous, like clip point, S guard, oval button, like really classic style Italian hunters that are just like, they look great. They still make Camplin still makes hunters now. Latama does not make hunters, but they have the regular tiny round button. But the big oval button hunters, man, if you get a chance, check those out. Those are, I'm sure you've seen pictures, but those are gorgeous.
I think I'm gonna get this book.
you gotta. It's a great wormhole of Switchblade history, which a lot of it was actually new to me. I mean, I don't know everything about Switchblades, but I'm determined to learn all the ins and outs of it. But the Latama book is it's pretty neat, man. Definitely some weird twists and turns in that, in the amount of influence Italian knives have had on the knife industry as a whole, and like the world trade almost in a weird way. Because I feel like Italians are sort of everybody's secret crush. Like pretty much everybody, not everybody, a lot of custom knife makers who do Switchblades have made an Italian inspired or an Italian knife at some point, just because it's inevitable. It's like, it's the Switchblade that you just get. It's the first Switchblade, or it's most people's first Switchblade anyway.
It's iconic. It's in all the movies. You know, if you're a gangster in a movie, you carry a Switchblade. It's even in animation. If Archer carries a Switchblade.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's Italian
Classic.
style.
It's archetypal.
Yes.
It's
practical in the way that it would slip right between someone's ribs, you know? It's very easy. It's not a EDC knife, but it's just got a gleam to it that it's vicious. It's cool.
Especially when they're crisp bladed.
Yeah.
So for people who are listening, which Latama book are you referring to? Because there's a few. There's the Art of the World's Concourse Examples, and there's a couple others.
I am referring to this one, which I am holding, which is the Latama Legend, and this is the one that Walter had a hand in putting together, and it's got a big picture of probably a 28 centimeter half grind wasp body on the front, and it's got the original Latama team, which is just the most gangster pack of Italian guys you've ever seen, and there's 6 guys on the cover. It's
okay. It's black. Is it black and white?
Yeah, it's a black and white picture with
the cover.
Yeah,
okay.
And the Latama's in gold. And I actually was lucky enough to
eBay
to get a signed copy, which was super nice of Walt.
But if you go to the Latama website,
Yes,
there's a bunch of them.
Yep. Yeah, that's so that's Walt, that he procured Latama. Geez, I totally forget now what year he said he did, but he purchased the company because he was friends with Sam Polk, who, having read this book now, has an incredible weight to it, which it did not during the recording. So we'll have to bring Walt on again, because I could digress into this subject entirely for a while, so I'm just gonna hold off. But yeah, it's a great book. Chuck, you should definitely check it out, or when I'm finished, you can, or yeah, just grab one from Latama or from eBay. And if anybody's interested in Italian history, you should definitely check out this book. I'll post it up in the Bladeology. Great stories about early Italian knife manufacturing and history, and it definitely lays out the influence those knives have had on our industry and probably the country as a whole over the years. So it's pretty cool. And a lot of very awesome archival pictures of knives, like a huge amount. So if you're building a knife library, that's a cornerstone to cover your automatics, because there's probably not too many books just dedicated to autos. I mean, I'm sure they show up in other art knife books, but singular themed. Upcoming builds and exploratory mechanisms. We were talking about the single action OTF and you're looking into spreading out your styles over the next few months. You know, you don't want it to get too blasé with the same thing. But you're still, for the most part, you're still not taking orders on anything upcoming, or you will kind of take suggestions for things to build, like that fixed blade, for instance.
Yeah, that fixed blade's been in order for about 6 months.
Okay.
And I finally got around to it, something different. But if someone wants to order something interesting, something that's intriguing, like an auto, and they have an idea for a design and incorporating, one of the mechanisms I'm currently using, then I will definitely entertain that. But for the most part, it's basically what I want to build. Like I have a customer who wants me to build an auto with a 6.5-inch blade, making it about 13 inches overall, with a skull crusher, Damascus blade, Damascus bolsters, and mammoth or pearl scales.
Wow.
So it's be
Gotcha. So he wants a wrist breaker.
Yeah, that's that's a full 28 centimeter Italian at that point. That's giant. That's huge. All right.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do it?
Yeah, why not?
Fuck it. Okay.
Fully file work. I can just go all out on it. Put some fullers in the blade, and just let the creativity fly. Carve the bolsters up a little, some decorative lines. Probably take me a couple of weeks to build it.
All right.
But I appreciate the challenge.
Whenever you're ready to take my order for a Marlin, you just let me know, because I'm ready to put that in if you're ready to build it. So,
would you prefer the Marlin or a shark?
Oh, that's right. We were talking about this. I'll take a shark. Sure, let's do a shark. Absolutely. Yep.
So probably around 2004, 2005, I did an automatic that when it was closed, it looked like a Marlin. Damascus head, mother of pearl body, Damascus tail, and laterally. And when you opened it, it had this long, thin blade, and it turned it into a swordfish.
Nice.
And it came display that looked like a picture frame that it sat on 2 little brass pins, and I hand tied a saltwater fly, so it looked like it was a fish frame.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of neat. And I've only done one figure roll like that.
Yeah. No, that's an amazing piece. Absolutely. And if, I absolutely throw in the challenge for the great white.
So, yeah, we've talked about that. So I'm going to do one that looks like a great white shark and have a fish, stylized fish cut out in the blade. So when it's open, it looks like the shark is chasing the fish.
I think it's neat. I think it's a great idea. I think we need more knives like that. But yeah, no, a structural art piece, right? Like Phil and the hot rod switchblade. Same thing. I gotta pester him about making a hot rod for the shop. But yeah, man.
Well, yeah, those Philip Booth hot rod autos, and you have crossover collectors. You have knife collectors. You got car collectors.
Oh yeah.
And, guys who just like cool things, and it crosses over many genres.
I think that those particular knives bring out the wild ones, honestly, most of the time. I think those are the ones that bring out the collectors outside the industry who are just, fanatical about something, and they just that's the coolest thing they've ever seen. Which is one of the reasons we have a giant halo at the shop right now, because it belongs to, a very famous individual who's moving, and they wanted it to be somewhere safe, and they were put into contact with us, and now there's a giant halo at the shop. But those are the kind of people who are they're not really knife people, but they're just looking. Yeah, they're just looking for something that's totally outrageous, like something that's crazy. And that's where, that's where a marlin or a great white brings those guys out of the woodwork.
Well, the other thing is too, their groups of friends, they can show that to them and say, "Look what I have. It's a knife, it's a hot rod, or it's a knife and it's a figural fish." And their friends will be blown away because one, they'll have no idea where they've gotten it, and they would have never seen anything like that before.
Right. Yep.
So it brings new people into the market, so it's not just a knife. It's a piece of art, and it's something different than just a knife.
All right. Well, I guess Blade Show 2021? Maybe?
Sure, why not?
Sure. Okay. You said yes. Okay. All right. Okay. We talked about this on the first podcast. Okay. I'm looking forward for 2021. It's a great piece with a diorama. Yeah. Heck yeah, sure, probably. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I'm interested for sure.
Which mechanism do you think would fit that design the best?
All right, that's a good one.
Because if you do it as a scale release or a bolster release, it keeps it a little more covert. But you got to take into account, screw placement. Whereas a bolster release, the bolster pivots on the pivot screw, and you don't want this giant pivot screw showing in the middle of the fish's head. So do you use a latch release and carve the latch to look like a fin?
Yes.
Or
three-dimensional.
you do as a scale release and just use the scale as the release.
Double entendre.
So that way you don't have as many screws showing.
I think a 3D structured. Oh, it's not dorsal's on top. What's the side fin called? Pectoral? No. Maybe pectoral fin.
Pectoral fin.
Yeah, I think
the
that
only
would
with that
be
is you got to do two of them.
Two of them.
And then it might not be conducive to holding because you have these two sharp fins sticking out.
Yeah, of course not. It's not a practical object at all. It's not meant to be,
Well, no, but just
for holding it to
although
fire.
The fins the fins may act as a stand.
Like how we're building this knife
stand.
right now in our heads. I'm ready. I'm ready for this.
This is exactly what I go through. Like, all right, how am I going to do this? What mechanism? How many screws can I hide? What materials am I going to use? And I'm all over the place with it. Do I want to use Damascus or is it going to be too busy? Do I use Zirc, for the bolsters and the tail? Or do I do something that I can antique and patina like nickel silver? So it'll have different shades because a lot of these older sharks, have battle scars and stuff.
It's
true. Do you incorporate those into it?
Well, you've got to because the diorama is going to be Jaws themed, right? So I mean, it's gotta match that,
So I have to build the knife and a scale model of the orca.
Sure.
Which is the boat.
Yeah, the boat.
And
get Quint being eaten in half.
I mean, it's a Cape Cod themed thing, man. Yeah, the barrel, and then in its mouth is Quinn. There's just screaming. The diorama is just him screaming.
And when you release the knife, the jaws close and break a cat.
Yes, every time though. Every time. Yeah, and then a little CO2 charger could be the oxygen tank. Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Okay.
A little bit of dry ice in there. This is going off the chain. Hell yeah, kid.
All this for if it's going to be 10 inches open.
Yes. Basically, your whole Blade Show booth will be just a diorama to display one knife. I mean, that's pretty fucking epic, guy. That's epic.
It might even win an award for best of the rest.
Yeah, I would imagine. Mother God. All right. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to the Great White and the diorama. I'm looking forward to everything that's coming down the chute. 2021 is going to be great. We're not even out of the woods yet on this year, but you're posting like wild, and you're building like crazy. I really like that snub nose you posted. That's cool. It's a great name for it, and it's an awesome little city knife. How long is the blade on that one?
3 inches.
Yeah, that's a nice EDC right there.
Yeah, a little pocket fixed blade.
Yeah, I'm digging it. All right, I'm loving it. What's where we find you, Chuck? What social media are you using these days? Just the Instagram?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram, both under Gedraitis now, but I do most of my posts Instagram.
All right.
It's a little more knife friendly.
A little more knife friendly. So DMs and emails, or just DMs?
DMs, emails. I'm pretty easy to find. If you just Google me, come up with pictures all over the place. I'm represented by dealers such as yourself, and I'm usually pretty easy to get a hold of. And I tend to respond pretty quickly to whoever messages me.
Nice. Trying to be all professional and stuff. I like it. Professional knife maker.
Yeah.
Extraordinaire. I'm gonna head to wrap. This has been another outstanding episode of the Bladeology podcast. We were on tonight talking switchblades with Chuck. This is the vocal representation of Jeremiah Burbank from PVK Vegas.
Nick Chuperin of NCC Knives.
Elijah Isham of Hamish Blade Works.
And Chuck Gedraitis of Gedraitis Knives.
Awesome. Chuck, thanks again for coming on with us tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me again. It's been fun.
Thanks, Chuck. It's good. Bicentennial episode.
I know Bill McHenry only ever did one swing guard, and it was curved like that. He only ever did one because it was so difficult to get it to lock up tight.
Oh, yeah. No, I would imagine that'd be an incredible, that'd be a pain in the ass. Swiss Army.
We're not recording at the moment, right?
We are not currently recording now.
Have kids or not? I don't want to have kids right now, so I'm going to turn down the load percentage.
Turn down the load percentage?
Yeah.
But the crash wasn't my fault. My reaction time was really bad is all.
We're just messing with you, buddy. We'll turn the load percentage up next time, and you'll crash right into her. It'll be fine. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, I get you. So, just as a heads up, you got to control, delete that shit when you get it. Like when you get a new phone, you got to reset to factory settings. That's your problem right there. I'm a machinist. I know.
I think your joke is fun, except there's an actual alt button on the fucking panel.
Is there
that
really?
does things. Yes. I'm being literal. I'm like,
all right, you just control,
at the end of the
delete.
day, it's still a computer.
And then the little window comes up, and then you, instead of logging in with Google, you have to get it to text you a question, and then you do a reCAPTCHA, and then the host resets itself to, watch standard.
Have you tried plugging it and plugging it back in?
Ooh, good one. Nick, unplug it for 30 seconds, let the router reset.
That doesn't work.
In.
It's hard. It's always on.